bienvenidos. Welcome back. As you guys can see from the title, this was a video idea from one of you guys. I don't remember what video I did. I really don't remember what video I did, but one of you guys had left a comment and had said to me, why don't you do a video of palettes that you love the color stories of, that you reach for constantly? So basically, if I use a palette for more than a week, then I know I love that. I don't get bored with it. I'm excited to reach for it, whether it be for 30 days, 25 days, 45 days, 3 months, it doesn't matter. If I am touching this palette, and I'm pretty good at knowing when I love a color story or not, because after about 5 to 7 days, if I'm bored, that means it wasn't a good palette for me. But if I continue to want to reach for it, that's a good palette for me. So I automatically know real quick if I like a palette a lot or it's okay and I only like it for a few shades kind of thing. So I have my pile here. I have been thinking about these now. I've had like about 2 to 3 weeks to really consider these, look back on how I use some of these palettes and think about like, yeah, I could use these for a few months on end, a few weeks on end without getting bored, or I have already done that with these palettes. So if you're interested, stay tuned. But first, if you're new, Alejandra, I go by Alex, eyeshadow enthusiast with the Dossier Project plan. That is something you want to continue to see on your feed. Subscribe and join us. And now let's get on with this list of palettes. All right, you guys, some of these you may have already seen in other videos because you know my taste, you know my loves, you know what I enjoy reaching for. So some of these may not be a surprise, and others you might be surprised at some of these, but some of these are newer, some of these are older. I'm very excited because I'm really digging these, and it shocked me when I went through them and I thought about how I use these palettes. Yeah, I was shocked. First off, this should be no surprise at all. This is the Menagerie Feral palette. I think at this point this has been discontinued. I don't remember if the singles are available or not. I don't remember if they said they were going to be available or not, but this is a color story that just does not get me bored. It doesn't get me bored. And here, I should say this from the beginning, the qualities or the qualifications of these palettes for me to not get bored is giving me a variety of different color stories throughout the week. If you're giving me the same color stories over and over and over, or the same tones as far as all warm tones, all cool tones, but not with any variety, that's when I get bored. I realize that's when I get bored. When you circle me into a certain color story, then I get bored. But this, you can clearly see I can go many, many, many different ways. I could do a green look, orange look, yellow, warmer tone, cooler tone, vibrant purples and pinks and blues. I can take this many different ways without getting bored, and that's one of the main reasons. And I have had this palette for so long, I mean a few years now, and I'm still reaching for it. I was able to hit pan on it this year. Like, I mean, it's just such a good palette. The formula is amazing, but it's a color story that keeps me coming back to it. I just love it. I really, really do love it. And it's one of my top favorites still to this day. Okay, this one. This is something that surprised me. This was actually sent to me by Nomad. I think I won it some way or shape or form. But this is the America's Parks palette. This one, again, the color story gets me going. I could do a cooler tone, bring a little bit of blues, warmer tone yellows and greens, these vibrant darker greens, this gray. You know what I mean? Like, I can go many different ways. Warm tone, cool tone with color in it, and I still won't get bored. This red is gorgeous because like it's a red orange. So I can do different looks with it, and it has different kinds of shimmers in it. It's not all shimmers or all mattes. It has a little bit of everything, and it's an even balanced amount of shimmers and mattes, and that's another thing that I really enjoy. I keep going back and forth whether I want to get their Hudson Valley one, but the thing that keeps holding me back, it only has 3 shimmers. The rest are all mattes, and I'm like, well, how often am I going to reach for it with just 3 shimmers in it? That's what's holding me back, and I still feel like this one is still the one that I really would love for that kind of season, which is a fall, winter kind of season. So it's beautiful. This one, when I got it, I reached for it over and over and over and over without getting bored. And I appreciate that because I really like this one. Here's one that should be no surprise. I love this one. This is definitely my top favorite Beauty Bay one. Oh, I love it. Love it. I don't mind reaching for this all year round, but I feel like this is more like a fall winter palette for me. But the thing is that you're getting cool, 2 rows of cooler tones, 2 rows of warmer tones, and you can mix match them. You can have them for seasonal. Like I could do a neutral look with this quad area right here, but then I can add color to it over here. The blues, these greens, this one is one of my favorite shades. Like, I mean, there is so much here. Depth down here, depth down here, down here. They just did such a great job with this color story. I've reached for this so much and I still do not get bored. I do not get bored. I actually pulled this out of my everyday drawer because I'm wanting to use it again this week. I was this close of using it today, but I told myself, reach for something else. Alex, you gotta stop reaching for this. I just love it. I love this. I love this. I can do so much with this one and not get bored. And not to mention, I got both warm and cool tone, which helps out a lot. Up next, this is a specific summer one for me. This is like a spring summer one for me. And every year, I'm always telling you guys how much I love this one. I just love this one. Again, the color story is the main reason. The main reason why I don't get bored. I want to do a blue look. I could do a blue look. I want to do a peachy look, an orange look, a yellow look, a neutral look, add pink to it, add orange to it. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I could do an orange crease with like a blue shimmer. I could do a yellow all over with this peachy shade on the lid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can do different looks without getting bored. This blue is amazing. I could do blue, green, add a little bit of this color or neutral color. You know, it's just so much, so much. And the formula is just top notch on this one. One of my favorite summer palettes, if not my favorite summer palette, and I love it. I still reach for it. Looks like I've done nothing because this is so pigmented. Looks like I've done nothing, but it is one of my favorites. Definitely a color story. I could reach over and over and over and not feel like I'm over it. Now this one surprised me, you guys, surprised me, but I will say that when I first got this last year, I could not put it down all year. All year, this was something I reached for. And again, this is one that this time of year, I'm like, ooh, Alex, you got to find a day to incorporate it because you really like it. This one, the Urban Decay Wild West palette. I shocked myself with this one. I reached for this so much when it first came out, so much. And actually, this was a gift from Mr. Man, which I love it even more for that reason. But I mean, I love it because, again, you're getting the cooler tones, the warmer tones, and you're getting these colors in here that just change the look. I did 3 looks, 1 palette with this look, and each look was so distinct from the other, you would not know that it's the same palette if I didn't tell you because you got so many different looks to go with it. I've reached for this so much, and I still to this day have not bored with it. I would love this, like this sweater. I would have loved to use like these 3 tones with it, add a little bit of this to the lower lash line, you know what I mean? There's just so much with this palette that I can do. And actually, out of all of these palettes, I think this is the most neutral one that I have, but it still gives me that what I want and not feel bored with it. It's just so pretty. It really, really is pretty. There's not one shade in here I hate. Not one shade. I can make these all work without having to feel like it's sticking out. It's beautiful, beautiful. I love this one. Love this one a lot. All right, this next palette is what made me fall in love with this formula, this brand, and now I am obsessed with it, and that's the Bay Nikkietutorials palette. This one I have used so much. It is so ridiculous. I love this. I have 2 pans in this palette already. I love it. It is just beautiful. Again, you're getting the springy shades on this side. You're getting more of the fall shades over here. The shimmers are gorgeous. It's just beautiful. The formula is not the best with Beauty Bay as far as mattes, but the shimmers really win me over every single time. This is such a beautiful palette. I love it. I enjoy it. I'm always reaching for it. I'm always thinking about it. Whenever I'm thinking of a shimmer, some sort of metallic, something that I want to glisten, I always go for these Beauty Bay palettes because they're just so, so pretty. This one made me love the Beauty Bay formula. This is what started my love for Beauty Bay formula, and I'm not stopping. I love the Beauty Bay formula. It's just so pretty. The mattes, I can make it work. It's not a big deal for me. They're not terrible where it's impossible to use. They're usable. The shimmers are where it's at, and this is just a beautiful palette. I really, really do like it. And I can tell you, for weeks, on end, I would reach for this. Weeks on end, because I just loved reaching for it. And I still do. Every time I look at it, I don't hesitate to try to reach for it, because it's still one of my favorites. This one, you guys, I would not put this down. I would not put this down for the longest. This is the ColourPop So Jaded. This is, I believe, one of my top 5 favorite ColourPop color stories they've ever done. It's so stunning. I reach for this so much. I did so many videos with it. Every time I wanted to do a look, I always popped into this palette to pull something else out. It just works for me all year round. I love again, has cooler tones, it has the warmer tones, it has neutrals, it has colors. That's everything that I need all in one palette. It is beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I would showcase this in so many different videos. I use this so much. Seriously, use this so much. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, I missed you. I've missed you. It's beautiful and I still love it. And again, all of these I reach for a ton. This is not just something I only used for a few days. All of these I've used a ton. Okay, the next one was one that I didn't want to reach for as much as I did, but after I got over the fact that this palette came from my daughter and renaming it, I have loved it. It's a great color story. I hate to say it, but it is. And I try to separate the person that made it with the palette itself, so then I don't hate it, because I really do like this color story. This color story and the formula are actually pretty good. If Morphe would have done more of this kind of formula, I think they would have done a lot better than where they stand today. But this was a beautiful palette. This is a really, really pretty palette. This is a palette that this specific summer, non-stop reaching. Non-stop going for it. These are not that shallow of a pan. These are pretty deep and they're pigmented, where this is going to last me a while. I love the fact that you're getting, again, purples and pinks and oranges. This is more of a warmer tone palette, but it suits me for the summer, because I'm using it for the summer into fall, not necessarily in the winter or spring. So this is a palette I reached for a lot this summer, a lot. And I realized that towards the end of the summer, when I started to put it away, I realized how much I loved it and enjoyed it. So this is something that I really, really love. I know, but I've separated the person with the brand because it came from my daughter, and that's the main reason why I reached for it. If it didn't, I would have decluttered it by now. All right, last one. Last one is what made me think about this overall, because this is a palette I remember purchasing this in October, around September, October, and I did not put this palette away until January of that year. I mean, I was on it for like about 3 to 4 months every single day. I could not help myself, and even now I still love it a ton. This is the BH Naughty palette. Oh, this palette, oh my gosh, I love it so much. I still love it. Still love it. You guys can see how much love this palette has gotten. So much. And I even reached for this palette this summer because I just love it. I mean, months. I'm telling you, September, October, November, December, January, 4 to 5 months nonstop use on this palette. I have quite a bit dips going on in a lot of these shades, and a lot of like beating up on these shimmer shades. Such a wonderful, wonderful palette. This palette is what made me realize that after a week, if I'm still reaching for the palette, I must really love it. And this is the one that like did that whole ding, spark that in me, because I didn't pay attention to the other ones prior to this one. But this is the one that made me realize that, like, wow, if somebody who has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of palettes really reaches for something for more than a week, months on end, you know it's a good palette. And this one was it for me. This is the one that started that all. Love it. I still do, you guys. I still do. This was such a wonderful palette. Color story, formula, finishes, the textures, everything about it. It's just top notch. I love it. All right, guys. So this is my pile of palettes that I have genuinely reached for over a week. There are other palettes that I'll dabble in, that I'm testing out, but I've realized that some of them I may not think about as strongly as I do this pile. I mean, like, this pile is my favorite. This might be my pile of, if I got rid of everything, what would I keep? Like, what are the palettes that I would keep? This might be the pile, you guys. I have a variety of colors, finishes, textures, formulas, where I wouldn't really get bored. I don't know. I love this pile. I love this pile. If I could keep this pile out for a while, I would neglect a lot of palettes. I really would. It's just fun for me. I love to test out new eyeshadow palettes, but I also like to see my habits because that teaches me what to buy, what not to buy, what formulas I love, what brands I love, that kind of stuff. So I myself like to see that when I just genuinely pick things. I don't force it. I don't demand it. I don't like try hard. It just naturally happens. And when I mean this naturally happened with this pile of palettes, it really did. And even now I'm like, ooh, wipe my face off. Let's try this one. If I could only do my eyeshadow look about 10 times a day, I'd be happier, but that is impossible. I'll link these down below if they're still available. I'll at least list them for you guys so you guys can know my list of favorites. Which palettes are your favorites that you reach for over 5 to 7 days that you can't put down? Not because you're panning them, not because they're in a project pan or because you're trying to do something with it, show more love. It's just a genuine natural thing. Something that comes natural to you. Which palettes would that be for you guys? Because this is my pile. I'll put my videos on the screen for your enjoyment. Until then, adios.